Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Crier. We've got the very latest on the search for Natalee Holloway. Volunteers helped Aruban police search a landfill for the fourth day today. Now, if you remember the Lori hacking case in Salt Lake City, it took nearly 3 months to find her body. Lori's brother has some thoughts on this case and will join us just a little later. But first, are Aruban police concentrating on the wrong man? Well, private investigator Ernie Rizzo thinks so. He's even willing to go to bat for Johan van der Sloot and join the investigation himself. Also with us, the Holloway family's own private investigator, TJ Ward. Now with him is Joe Houston with Texas EquiSearch, and he was at the landfill today. And last but certainly not least, Court TV anchor Lisa Bloom. All right, I want to start with you, TJ. I understand, according to Susan Catiotti with CNN, that the woman you found thought she was a witness regarding the Calpo brothers' car there alongside the pond that was drained, did not necessarily see that car. Her description was pretty inadequate, and they're dismissing her as a witness. Do you agree with that?
Well, when I went out and talked to her, she gave me evidence saying the car was blue or gray. She wasn't sure. She described it all the way down from the tail lights being clear all the way to the mag wheels. After I got that information from her, I produced a photo that was taken from the Aruban authorities and the FBI and produced that photo to her, and she had positively identified that vehicle as being the vehicle that she saw 3 or 4 times a week after Natalee Holloway disappeared in the neighborhood around the pond that was drained.
All right, tell me about the focus. I want to get into the landfill because that's pretty interesting and why everyone moved over there, but is there any intensity still around the pond, or do you think that was completely a vacuous lead?
Well, I've been back on the island about 24 hours, and I have been out there to the racket club, and I entertained interviewing the manager of the racquetball club, getting some of the information about the van der Sloot being a member of the club and any information that he'd have access to of any houses or so on and so forth around the pond. Our reason our focus was there last week, not only the pond, but from the information that you're well aware of from the beach being a target and the police bringing van der Sloot out to the beach right next to the Marriott 3 or 4 times, and then getting the information from the gardener that was over in the racquetball club, and then finding the other witness that claims that she saw the same vehicle out around the property a week later. We've kept our focus on that area, but I mean, we're still following up with leads. Since I've been here, we've got numerous emails, and we have to follow up and find the credibility of these emails and go forth with that information.
All right, tell us about this individual that allegedly saw a body, a female body, being dumped at the landfill. Do authorities yet know who this person is? What sort of detail have you gotten from this individual?
Well, the only information I have, and I wasn't here when they started the search, when EquiSearch went to the pond, and I believe Joe might be able to tell you a little bit more than that. But I understand the police have and the FBI have interviewed this person as far as credibility, and of course, they are continuing to search and go on with the leads that was given the information.
Well, let me ask Joe about that. Joe, all of a sudden somebody comes forward 2 months after she goes missing and says that he saw the body being dumped, saw that the body was female, was muddy, possibly described as purple. What sort of information do you have about this, and what sort of credibility do you give it?
Based upon the information we received, I agree with TJ that it's a lead. We followed up on the lead. We're continuing to follow up on the lead. When you talk to the individual, he seems very convinced of what he saw. He does not get off his story. He's not changed his story. And we're continuing to look at the landfill as a possible site where Natalee's body may have been dumped.
Does the individual describe the people who were doing the dumping? Does it associate with the Calpos and Johan van der Sloot?
It's my understanding that he described to the authorities the Calpo brothers and the third person. I don't know who that was.
All right. Let me ask TJ, what about other leads? You talk about all the emails that you've gotten. Anything taking you in a direction other than Johan and the Calpo brothers?
Well, no, none other than that. I mean, we're following up with leads, and I don't want to discuss what the leads are now. Some of the information that we got late this afternoon, we will turn over to the Aruban authorities and the FBI just to see if there's any confirmation they may be able to give us that the credibility of the information. And I hope to follow up with the 2 individuals, one the gardener with his information and the landfill information, and hope to have an opportunity to interview both of these individuals.
All right, in the landfill situation, we certainly learned about this in the Lori hacking case. It was just absolutely horrific that it took so long to find her because they were on that project pretty quickly. Obviously, with this witness, they won't have gone into the landfill until 2 months after she went missing. What size is this project?
Well, obviously, again, we've got to follow up with each and every lead and take it to as far as it'll go and find the credibility. That's the only way that we get new information every day. It may be prompted by the reward that's out now, but it's necessary to follow up with these leads and take them as far as they'll take us.
All right, Ernie, you went out there. You proposed working for the Vandersloots. Looks like you are on board. Why won't Paul Vandersloot allow EquiSearch to come onto his property and re-examine areas, including some well that's on the facility?
Please, every time he talks to somebody, they twist what he says. He says A, by the time the news media gets it, it's B. Why should he? They've already checked it. Catherine, let me tell you something. Either these 3 teenage boys are the most brilliant criminals in the world who have fooled the FBI, the local police, prosecutors, the Army, the Navy, F-15s, fighter jets, investigators in 1 hour, or you know what? They got the wrong guys. And you know what? Nobody, and I mean nobody, will sit these parents down and say, you know what, folks? We may have the wrong people here. Everybody's scared to say that. You know what I feel? They've got the wrong people. It's
well,
just
Ernie,
silly.
wait a second. If these 3 put her in a landfill, which is now covered by 2 months' worth of debris. Wait, hold on. Let me ask you the question, and then you obviously are going to answer as you will. But they put her in the landfill, and then they basically kept their mouth shut, which is what they've done. How are they fooling anybody? They've just done what a good defendant would do, and that is shut up.
First place, the landfill guy comes up 2 months after there's $1 million reward. He says this happened in the afternoon, which means they're going to have to have hid the body, went in the middle of the afternoon, put her in a landfill. 2 weeks ago was 4 hairs in the ocean. Then it was a pond that was drained that wasn't a pond when it started. Now you had a guy who says, oh yeah, I saw a blonde head hanging out of a bag. Next thing you're going to hear is, and she was screaming for help, and she said her name was Natalee. Please, this is the most waste of time I've ever seen. If they'd stop trying to put something on these 3 kids and look at the whole scenario, including classmates. Here, there's male DNA on a toothbrush. They have yet to find out. Tell us about that. Pardon me?
Tell us about that. I just read about that. Apparently in Natalee's room where she was staying, there's a toothbrush, and they found what they say is male DNA.
So apparently she had some intimate contact with a classmate or someone else other than these 3 people. Yet they will not play with that. They won't get to it. They won't talk to classmates. You know, when I make an investigation, I don't let my clients quarterback which way it should go, and that's what's happening here. The parents, who I feel very sorry for, are trying to get people help them to prove these 3 kids were involved. And I don't play that game. When I'm an investigator in the case, I call it like I see it. And if I don't think they did it, I sit the client down and say, let me tell you something. This don't look good. I can't believe these kids could have pulled this off. Let's look in a different direction. Everybody's scared to say that. And I feel sorry for these parents, but I'll tell you why. Because they keep getting these false hopes. You see how drained they are when they come on television. That we got 4 hairs, now we're starting. We got a pond, now it's a dump. You know what? They are killing these parents for no reason at all.
Okay,
and I'll tell you something.
Hold on, Ernie. Let me ask you some questions, and so we can have a dialogue here. You talk about the 3 boys possibly being so clever and fooling everybody if they in fact did it. Well, somebody out there has been, quote, clever enough to fool everybody. What is your theory about what happened?
Not really. She could have been hitchhiking back to her hotel after the kids dropped her off. Somebody picked her up a car, brought her to the other side of the island, and buried her in their backyard. They haven't even looked in those directions. They haven't even thought of anybody else. This is right from Jump Street. It's been these 3 kids, and how can we put something on them? And all the kids have to say is, we don't want to talk. All the father has to do is say, you know what, I'm tired of you guys twisting my story. I'm sweating, so therefore I must be a killer. Come on, it's the silliest investigation.
How far from the site where Johan admits he left Natalee to her hotel, what's the distance?
It's about a 30-minute walk.
Okay, so...
And if she walked or she hitchhiked or someone picked her up, it's about a 30-minute walk.
All right, a 30-minute walk, and she would have hitchhiked with a stranger 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's say that happened, but the truth is there's a very, very little crime on Aruba. There are a lot of teens, a lot of tourists, people wandering around at all hours of the night. So it's not commonplace for people to be in danger if they're walking around the island in the wee hours of the morning, is it?
Hey, Catherine, she's gone, so something happened to her.
True.
And it's more likely a stranger has
Why?
got her on the other side of the island than this whole investigation
Why?
they're making.
Why is it more likely than
Because
the people
things
that she was
happen.
with?
Because things happen. Look at the John Benet Ramsey case. The baby was in the house, and they never built the case with the two parents there.
Well, it's because
Doesn't
there
have
was
to be
very,
who she
very,
was.
very bad police work in that case. People might argue that there was very, very, very bad police work in this to not have examined the car, to not have examined the boy's clothing, this sort of thing early on in this case.
Well, you know, I'll tell you something about the police work. I am amazed that they are allowing all these tourists and people to get involved in this investigation, because if they ever arrest somebody, this evidence has been so contaminated, the chain of evidence has been so contaminated, they'll never get a conviction regardless of who they arrest. I mean, they've got volunteers digging things up, finding things, bringing things in. You have to have a chain of evidence when this happens. If this actually goes to court, how are they going to explain where all this stuff came from?
Yeah, that's actually.
I don't buy any of it.
That's actually a very good point, Lisa. Even though EquiSearch, it's wonderful what they're donating and all, there have to be all sorts of problems with volunteers and independent organizations working the case.
That's true, but this case reminds me so much of the Scott Peterson case, Catherine. Location, location, location. If, God forbid, Natalee's body is found in the landfill or in the drained pond where witnesses can place Joran van der Sloot or the Calpo brothers, that's going to be very incriminating evidence. And Ernie, I'm surprised at you. I mean, put on your PI hat and take off your advocacy hat for just a moment. What about the lies that Joran told about the time and the place that night? He said he left her at the hotel. That's a big lie, when in fact he took her to the beach, and according to some reports, he said he tried to have sex with her. She turned him down, didn't want to have sex with him. Then he leaves her alone on the beach in a foreign country in the middle of the night and lies about it. Of course he's going to be suspicious. Of course the police are going to look closely at him rather than strangers.
There's no question about that, but my information is that, hey, when they found out she was disappeared in the morning, they panicked and wanted to pretend they brought her back to the hotel. After it turned into a possible murder, they told
Why
the
are they
truth, that's all.
panicking if he just innocently left her alone on the beach?
Well,
Why
if you're a 16-year-old boy and you were fooling around with the girl in the back seat of the car and you find out in the morning she's gone,
well,
you
they were
panic.
fooling around like people do in Aruba when they go on these college trips. What's wrong with that?
Exactly.
Why on
These are
earth
17
would you panic?
Because they're 17, 18-year-old
So?
kids. They're not lawyers.
I have to agree with
They're
Lisa
kids
on
who
this.
panic.
You know, our initial reaction right off the television shows is that everybody's got to panic and cover up. But I wonder if the initial reaction, particularly when your father's in the authorities, that you say, look, here's what happened. Let's go find her. We are going to work to resolve this mystery. She was a lovely girl. I'm very sorry. Instead, everybody clams up, gets lawyers, shuts down.
Yeah, but look what the media is doing to them. Regardless of what these kids say, it's been twisted.
Well, I think it's
the father
because
comes
of
out
their
and tries
initial
to help,
reaction.
tries to get interviews, and they twist everything he says. He's a scumbag. He sweats too much, so he must be a killer. He must have helped his son. After getting beaten up so many times, Catherine, you say, you know what? Hell with you guys. I'm not going to help you anymore. And that's where he's at today.
Well, let me ask.